Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to
to the flag
flag
of the United
of the United
States
States of America,
America, and to the
and to
republic
the republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty
and
and
justice
and
justice
justice
for all.
for
for
all.
all.
The Sunshine Law. The New Jersey Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right to the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted on. On the rules of this act, the Trenton Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting by publicizing the date, time, and place, therefore posted on Trenton's webpage, the Times, and the Star Ledger. Formal action will take place after this meeting. Mission statement. All students will graduate with a vision for their future, motivated to learn continually and prepared to succeed in their choice of college or career. Now we will have our swearing in of our reappointed board members by Board Counsel James Roll.
Mr. Bowie, start with you.
Mike around.
All right, that's fine. Raise your right hand. I, Gene Bowie, do solemnly swear or affirm
I do, Gene Bowie, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and the governments established in the United States,
and the governments established in the United States,
in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I, Gene Bowie, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Gene Bowie, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education,
described by law for the office of school board member of the Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter,
and I am not disqualified as a voter,
nor disqualified due to conviction
nor disqualified due to conviction
of a crime or offense
or a crime or offense
listed in 18A,
listed in 18A,
colon 12-1,
colon 12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
perform all the duties of that office according to my best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Trueheart?
Yes.
Ready? All right. You got your, all right, raise your right hand. I, Gerald Trueheart, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Gerald Trueheart, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States,
to the governments established in the United States,
in this state,
under the authority
of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I, Gerald Trueheart, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Gerald Trueheart, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education,
as prescribed by law as for office of member of the Board of Education.
and that I am not disqualified as a voter,
I am not disqualified as a voter,
nor disqualified due to a conviction
nor disqualified due to a conviction
of a crime or offense
of a crime or of an offense
listed in 18A,
listed in 18A,
colon 12-1,
colon 12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to our reappointed board members. Now we will have roll call. Gene Bowie,
Present.
Addie Daniels Lane,
Present.
Yolanda Lopez,
Present.
Teron McKnight,
Present.
Gerald Trueheart,
Present.
Jeannie Weeklam,
Present.
Sade Williams, absent. We have a quorum. Now we will open the floor for nominations for our board president. I'll take your nominations at this time.
I
I
nominate.
nominate.
One at a time.
I'm sorry. Who was first?
Yolanda,
For Yolanda.
I nominate Addie Lane.
Second. Guess you don't need a second.
oh, okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so we'll have roll call. Jean Bowie,
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez,
Yes.
Teron McKnight,
Yes.
Gerald Trueheart,
Yes.
Jeannie Weeklam,
Yes.
Sade Williams absent. Well, Addie.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, congratulations, Addie. You're the board president for the 21-22 school year. Wish you success for the upcoming school year. Would you like to have a few words?
Oh, I just want to say thank you to the board for again selecting me to serve, and certainly I believe that this vote was about consistency. The fact that there are a lot of things going on, and for consistency, if we can ensure and see those things to actually move through. And so again, I want to thank you for putting your trust in me, and certainly I will do the best that I can in terms of helping us to move forward with all parties that are involved, all of our stakeholder parties that are involved in terms of furthering the education of our students here in the city of Trenton. So thank you to the board members. And again, I welcome the opportunity to serve.
Okay, now you will take over as the chair, board president.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we will have the nomination and election for the office of vice president.
Nominate Yolanda Lopez as vice president.
I second.
Any other nominations? No. Okay, a roll call nomination for Yolanda Lopez as vice president. Jean Bowie,
Yes.
Yolanda, yes.
Yes.
Teron McKnight,
Yes.
Gerald Trueheart,
Yes.
Jeannie Weeklam,
Yes.
Sade Williams absent, Addie Daniels Lane.
Yes.
Congratulations, Ms. Lopez, on being the vice president of the board for the upcoming school year.
Thank you.
Would you like
Okay,
to have,
so go ahead.
no, I was asking, would you like to have any words about your upcoming vice presidency of the board?
Just thank you to the board members who trust me, and I hope to work very closely with Addie to continue the work that we are doing in order to better our students' achievements and to get along well with all our bargaining units.
Okay, so thank you. So at this time, this is the reorganization meeting. And so I certainly want to acknowledge the service of Nicole Brossois. Nicole served with us for the past year and a half or two. I'm not sure of the exact length of time. And certainly we want to salute her for her service to the board during that time and her input. And again, we have solicited her continued input. She has a lot to offer and a lot to share. And so we want to continue to further that relationship with her. But certainly we appreciate the service that she has provided for the board or to the board for the past year and a half to 2 years. And again, not exactly sure of the time span. So next week, we hope to welcome in a new board member. Next week, who will be taking the place of Nicole. But again, certainly we appreciate the service that Nicole provided. And again, we expect to lean on her in the future for information that she has been able to share that helps us to do our jobs more effectively. So thank you for that. At this time, we will move on to the adoption of the agenda. And in terms of adopting the agenda, this is the reorganization agenda that has to outline all of the items that are going to set us up for a successful year for the year, for the school year 21-22. So I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Jean Bowie,
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez,
Yes.
Teron McKnight,
Yes.
Gerald Trueheart,
Yes.
Jeannie Weekland,
Yes.
Sade Williams, absent, Addie Daniels-Lane.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, at this time, there's an opportunity for board member comments. So if any of the board members would like to offer a comment about the agenda or anything else relative to this particular time.
I was going to say my comments on the agenda until the next section. I didn't want to spend time on that right now, but did want to ask a question about COVID notices. I know we got one last week. I just want to make sure that it seems as if maybe we haven't had any outbreaks of COVID or any cases of COVID. Not outbreaks, that's not the right term. Any cases of COVID in our district. And just want to, when the superintendent gets an opportunity to speak, would like to find out if that's the case, because we haven't received any emails regarding that. So that was the only thing that I had in terms of board member comment. I do have some things on the agenda, but I'll wait till the next second, Patty.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. At this particular time, right before we move to public participation, I'd like to ask our acting superintendent, Mr. Yano, if you have any comments at this time.
Thank you, President Lane and Vice President Lopez, for the opportunity. Again, just one comment is that the first 2 weeks of our staggered reopening went off very well. We introduced students back into our school system. So this is the first week where the combined cohorts are now attending school. So it's our third week of our reopening. Every day we are, of course, there are challenges that come up, and we, as a team, we work collectively to, reduce any of the challenges, the obstacles, the issues that may be. I want to thank Shannon Conway, Hope Grant, for being our school contacts and working at the school levels, and Mr. Ortiz for supporting all the schools as he does often with Micah Freeman and our team, Ms. Howard, and the building and grounds team for making sure that as a concern comes up, Mr. Mosley is sending his team out to the field to address whatever may be of concern, and we are taking it very serious on a day-to-day basis. And also a big shout out to Mr. Toft for continuing to push the instructional focus as we move forward in this school year. So we are in the phase now where we're looking at our school schedules and looking at the cohorts to understand how many students are in the building versus how many students are in the remote environment, how many students have their schedules being adjusted based on a parent request, because at times there may be a conflict with an A cohort or a B cohort, and we've been making those adjustments. So I want to appreciate and send a shout out to all of our principals and vice principals at nursing teams, school-based staff for making those adjustments in support of our students and our families. I just want to say thank you for that work. Next week, we'll have a more robust update with the support of Dr. Conway and Ms. Grant in terms of the school reopening. We'll give you some numbers of students who've been coming in, and also a couple celebrations that we've been planning for a little bit of time. So thank you again, and I look forward to the rest of the agenda. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Yano. At this time,
I do have a question, and it is concerning the services of a translator for our next board meeting. Were we able to find someone or contract with someone in order to provide those services?
At this time, we don't have a contract with anyone to provide those translation services. We're still reaching out. I had reached out. You had given me the phone number of someone I'd reached out to you recently to get that phone number again, Ms. Lopez. So if you could check your text, because I'd asked you for a phone number for someone. There was a service provider that up north. I have a meeting scheduled with Latino Spirit. I can't remember the name of the gentleman, but that's on the books for next week as well.
He's Diego de Mayo. I
Mayo.
believe, yeah, I don't know that he offers those, but I did send you the text with that number.
Yes,
For
okay, because I
the
asked for it
lady's
recently.
name
Yeah,
is Lori Sanchez, I believe.
I'll double check and look. Latino Spirit provides the translation services for Camden Public Schools. So that's why we're
Okay.
reaching out to him, and he's looking to, actually, he reached out to us again, and we've connected. Miss Williams, my confidential secretary, set up a meeting with him for next week. So
Great.
we'll have more to report on that, okay?
Thank
you.
you.
though.
Hey, Addie, can I make just one quick comment?
Sure.
Just slipped my mind. So I have pretty good relationships with a number of teachers, and so I want to acknowledge their work in helping us get through this time. I think being mindful and supportive of them is also very, very important. So I appreciate the work that they're doing and the sacrifice and calling out, because you can only fix what you know is broken. So being proactive and calling out items is really important. So I just want to make knowledge of that.
Okay, so certainly, and thank you for that, Jean. So certainly, our district would be nothing without our students, and certainly without our teachers and our staff, our supporting staff and administration. So again, certainly we do appreciate the efforts that have been put into providing for our students. With that said, are there any additional comments?
One more item, Addie, I'm sorry. I wanted to respond to Mr. Trueheart's question regarding the COVID notifications. If you have not received the notifications, because there hasn't been anything to be notified about. The last one was what you received in your email, but there is, Mr. Ortiz, there hasn't been anything this week, I believe. Correct, exactly. So it's been quiet, thankfully so. We
good.
are
That's good. That's really good.
Yes, we're happy about that. Thank you, Mr. Chua. And Ms. Grant also has been working with Mr. Ortiz and Ms. Freeman to set up vaccine access for our students at the high school and 9th grade academy. And we're also looking for continued opportunities to expand to middle school age students as we move forward. We have dates, I think there's a flyer already out that we sent out. Maybe Ms. Grant can just give us those dates if she has them at her hand.
The COVID vaccine went down to age 12, is that correct? It's down to 12 now, 12 years of age.
Yes, it is. It keeps changing. Ms. Grant?
Yes, our nursing supervisor, Michael Freeman, is leading the charge in collaboration with the city of Trenton. So we are very pleased to announce that we will, Trenton High School will be a satellite site for the Pfizer vaccine, which at this point is eligible for children 12 and up. The first date will be for the first dose is Wednesday, May 26th. The second dose is Wednesday, June 16th. The times are it will allow if young people are going off to college, a lot of the colleges are now requiring vaccine, the completion of the COVID vaccine prior to the start of that. So we're very excited to be able to collaborate with the city of Trenton and offer this opportunity for our young people ages 12 and up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I know the city is going to be sending it out. They sent emails and Facebook and so forth. What is our plan for notifying parents? Are we doing like robocalls and emails, stuff like that? Yana or Ms. Grant?
Ms. Grant. I like Ms. Grant because she's leading the charge on that. Go ahead, Ms. Grant.
And I like to.
So we will be sending out robocalls. Anyone that is under the age of 18, they will have to have a parent or guardian or someone older than 18 with them in order to receive the vaccine. They just can't show up unsupervised. But that information will be going out from robocall and announcements on our district sites and our school-based sites so that we get as many folks out there as possible.
Additionally, if I may add, Superintendent, we are also going to have a flyer created and we're going to distribute it all the sites on Wednesday when we do the food delivery for our parents. We're going to distribute a flyer with that information so that parents get a flyer in their hands as well. Additionally, we're thinking about doing a town hall in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking parents because oftentimes they're afraid and they don't understand what it means to get the shot. They have concerns about even showing up. So we plan to do a town hall in Spanish, and then we're going to address it on Tuesday, tomorrow, on our radio talk show with Mr. Trueheart. We were going to also talk about a little bit about the activity.
Okay, thank you. Looking around for any additional comments before we move on. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to, this is our public participation section. So in order to start that section, we'll just review the advisory. And it reads as follows. The Trenton Public School District welcomes the attendance and comments from all members of the public at its meetings. This public comment period is your time to be heard on any school or school district issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to the residents of the school district. Each person who signed up to comment will have 5 minutes. You will be notified when your 5 minutes are up. You cannot yield your time to another person. When it is your turn to speak, please address all of your comments to the board president. Please conduct yourself in a respectful and courteous manner. For anyone whose comments or actions either harass, intimidate, or threaten the safety of any person, we will provide you with a warning or immediately end your comment time. Also, if you curse, use vulgar language, or make personal attacks, we will provide you with a warning or end your comment time. Comments that adhere to these guidelines will not be interrupted. Also, we ask that members of the public not interrupt the speaker during their public comment. If you have any questions, please ask your questions during your 5-minute comment period. After the public comment period is closed, the board, superintendent, or a designee will address your questions to the extent provided by law. So that is the board public advisory on public participation. And at this time, I'm going to call on the first speaker, and that is Mr. Darren Freedom Green. There we go.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Interim Superintendent Yano, Board President Ms. Addy, congratulations for being elected to the position again. You served us with honor and grace. It's grateful to know you'll be leading us again going forward. To board members and to the community tied in. I was approached by a reporter this weekend. Tragically, we had our 8th homicide. He asked me, how do we begin to rectify what's going on? I said, there's 2 areas we can chin check right now and address up front. The first is we have to begin to deal with Trentonians. How are we on our 8th homicide and nobody on any side of the city is demanding accountability, responsibility, or any kind of plan to address what's going on in the streets? Last year, we had 40 homicides. Are we expecting the situation to correct itself? So again, Trentonians are part of the problem. On the corner of Southern Street and Brunswick Avenue, is the board aware that there's a smokehouse there? This wouldn't happen in the townships, wouldn't happen in Princeton. So I'm wondering how, and as Trentonians, are we okay with a smokehouse being exposed to our middle school babies when they enter school and exit school? We really have to do some soul searching on where we are. And if you didn't know that it was there, that speaks to an even deeper problem. You know, what is going on that we're okay with that kind of situation? And I'm not against the legalization of weed. I'm with the movement and all of that. But in no other area would our babies be exposed to that kind of travesty sitting when they're coming to and coming out of school. They shouldn't be exposed. That's inappropriate. And then again, when we wonder how they get lost in the streets, it's because we create environments for them to get lost. My second point is real simple. We're again right where we were in 2019. Where we had over an 11-year period, 8 superintendents. So we're right here again with the same process, the same people doing the same thing and the same broken blueprint. And we've now at 2021 added 3 people to that rotation. So again, what are we doing? My question is, what are we doing? Are we going to go back in that room when you guys speak again and use the same broken blueprint and think you're going to bring about transformation and change? Can't happen. Need a superintendent who can come in day one and deal with our broken district and the things that are happening here. Need a superintendent who can come in day one and not battle and disrespect and go at a war with the union, but find amicable ground. So we stop fighting each other and fight for these babies who are dying in the street. We need a superintendent who can hit the ground day one and begin to affirm, empower, and salute these teachers who feel like their morale is in the basement because they don't feel appreciated here. We can't win this war without our parents and without our teachers. And our teachers are some of the most amazing people on the planet. We need a superintendent on day one who can address these babies who were broken and damaged and hurt before the pandemic. So where are they going to be now when we come back to school in September? So again, when you tell me all kind of things, and I know people are going to text me and email me and say, well, she didn't apply for the job. Well, we've had superintendents come here who didn't have their certifications or qualifications in place, but we found a way to put them in the seat. So I'm saying again to you, I'm making a clarion call. We don't need to go outside and look for somebody else. We have the perfect candidate right here. We'll start day one. And I think the hypocrisy is if you bring somebody from the outside, it'll be Hope Grant that trains them. I'm again saying on the record, Assistant Superintendent Hope Grant needs to be our next superintendent. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Green. At this point, we will move to our next speaker. And our next speaker is Ms. Nicole Backlund.
Evening board members. I really can't wait to greet you again with a proper good evening when I can honestly call it one. I would also like to acknowledge my fellow hardworking teachers that are listening this evening after a long day of hybrid teaching and the community members that have joined us to show their concern and support as well. It is interesting to me that these meetings are still taking place virtually when teachers and students are returning to the buildings 4 days a week, to the schools that you have deemed healthy and safe. I was actually shocked we weren't doing a hybrid meeting where people could tune in virtually and others could select to speak or listen in person, quite like our students have the option right now. However, we all know that setting is tiring to handle, especially without proper training, and I still feel safer remaining home for these meetings because of the history of the board office closing due to COVID outbreaks. I'm going to speak tonight about expectations versus reality. When you're not on the front line in the classrooms each day, it is easy to think that everything is running smoothly, but we all know that is not always the case. Let me give you a few scenarios. Expectations. Teachers will receive proper training from the district about how to successfully teach in a hybrid setting. Reality. A fellow teacher read from a document that was previously emailed to everyone. When follow-up questions were asked, I will simply say it did not go well. Yet teachers continued to teach. Teachers were given a reopening plan with expectations for an overflow room when there are not enough substitutes, students filling out COVID forms before entering the building, and cleaning expectations. In my building, the overflow room has not been prepared for students or utilized. Counselors interrupt classes throughout the day so students can fill out the COVID forms they did not do, and food being left in garbage cans over the weekend. Yet teachers continue to teach. Expectation. Students will show up with their Chromebooks charged and ready to go. In a perfect world, yes, but we do not live there. Students have forgotten them, they have not been charged, keys are sticking, making it difficult to type, and one student who was completely locked out of her Google Classroom for the entire block, yet teachers continue to teach. Teachers expect to greet their smiling students each day and engage them in lessons that are enjoyable and enhance their learning. While the reality is we are constantly checking the time to make sure we log in and out of meets promptly, make sure we maintain social distancing, checking in on students virtually while keeping an eye on the students physically in front of you, all while juggling poor internet, interruptions from announcements, counselors, and whoever else decides to walk into your room throughout the block. Yet teachers continue to teach. Even though reality does not meet the expectations that were laid out, teachers continue to teach. Even though teachers were called unprofessional and money was docked, teachers continued to teach. It is easy to sit in an office and create a plan that looks good on paper, but the reality does not always meet the expectations. And when that happens, teachers are left scrambling to pick up the pieces, figure it out in the moment, all while still making learning happen. Unless you're the one starting and ending the meeting, posting the assignments, creating the slides, the forms, the Jamboards, the peer docs, and everything else, you simply do not get it. You do not get why teachers are frustrated, upset, disappointed, and full of emotions right now. You do not understand why the teachers that are normally eager to volunteer, help out, and be a team player are feeling jaded, unappreciated, and discouraged. Teachers are expected to create lesson plans, and if we aren't following them to a T on a walkthrough or observation, we are questioned and it is reflected in our scores. Yet when teachers ask questions, we are treated rudely with disrespect, and even though, let me remind you, we continue to teach. As I wrap up, let me remind everyone this meeting is virtual, even though students and teachers are in the building. Even though we are virtual, when someone is speaking, you can still tell who is genuinely listening and who is disengaged, who actually cares, and who is distracted. Body language, even these meetings, still speaks volumes. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Backlund. At this time, we'll move on to the next speaker, and the next speaker is Ms. Janice Williams.
Before I begin, please note that this speech will be forwarded to Mayor Gussiori and members of Trenton City Council. While I congratulate the newly appointed school board members, the look still remains the same. 6 females, of which 4 are Black, 1 Latino Hispanic, 1 white, and 2 Black males. This is not a good look for the students, teachers, Greater Trenton community, and the taxpayers of this great city. The board is not reflective of the changing demographics here in the city of Trenton. We currently have only 1 Latino board member, which is problematic because it is not reflective of the Trenton Public Schools student population. As of today, we have 12,451 students enrolled. We have 55% Latino Hispanic students, 39% Black students, with the remaining 6% going to categories of other ethnicities. Representation is an issue that must be addressed by the current mayor immediately. Ultimately, the decision rests with him, and he should take an interest in the composition of his board as it relates to his community and taxpayers. Currently, the board is comprised of members who have no students who attend Trenton Public Schools. The lack of educators on this board is also quite disturbing. The one educator who currently serves has pronounced that she has been employed as a teacher, vice principal, and principal in the district, but now serves on the management side. On our board leadership team, some members have exhausted their time on this board and should not want to become lifers. The board was not designed for that to happen. We have one board member who now enters his 4th consecutive term on this board. What have the accomplishments been of this effort of that board member that reflects success in the district? We know that he chooses to send his child to Lawrence Public Schools, yet he continues to make decisions that impact brown and Black children. Yet Trenton schools are not good enough for his child. We have another board member that will start his 3rd consecutive term. What have they accomplished during their time? They failed to retain qualified leaders like Francisco Duran and Alfonso Llano, and each time they conduct a superintendent search, they offer employment to unqualified individuals who are still sitting home on their sofas. When appointing school board members, one should think the mayor would identify members of the community who would make a positive contribution to the board and who believe in the merits of a strong public school system. This should be evident in the work that they have done in the greater Trenton community, previous and current work on Trenton organizations and groups who work to further the advancement of public education, especially urban school districts whose population is primarily Black and brown students, not because they have an interest or because it makes them look important or they need to remain relevant. The district needs to have board members appointed that have the ability to contribute to the discourse of school governors in intelligent, meaningful, and rational ways. We need board members who would come involved not just on days of board meetings. Trenton needs board members who are visible, active, and participatory in all aspects of district activities. How many of you sitting on this board can say you have actually visited schools before, during, and after the school day to really get to know our parents and students? How many of you have attended PTO, PTA school meetings? Past member Don Shelton served for 18 years, but he knew the school, he knew the school leaders, he knew the students, the parents, the activities, and the success and challenges. He didn't have to just read it on paper and believe it. He knew when he was being told the truth, and he was able to make informed decisions. We need board members like Mr. Shelton who will fully commit and work in the best interest of our students and families of Trenton. If you are going to be a lifer, then be like Don Shelton. But that is hard for some of you to do when you feel that you're above those that you serve. Mr. Mayor, you said that you inherited Eric Jackson's board. With these reappointments, this is now your board. You are responsible for each and every loss, beginning with the loss of a superintendent who was somewhat connected to the educational community here in Trenton. It is your responsibility to appoint community members who will be effective and productive members. This is your board now, not Eric Jackson's board, but still little has changed. The students, parents, teachers, and greater Trenton community need board leadership that will unify and strengthen the district. Remember, you can have more of the same or something very new direction, new opportunities, new ideas, new strategies that may call for new board leadership. You choose, and I hope you choose the latter. Thank you. Have a good evening and be safe.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. At this point, we're going to move to our next speaker, and that next speaker is Ms. Sandy Jimenez. Ms. Sandy Jimenez. Okay, I'll come back to her. At this point, Ms. Talithia.
Good afternoon. I have a list of items I want to bring up. The first item on my agenda was about the exclusion of Jewish holidays from the school calendar, but right before I logged into the meeting, I see that Mr. Llano has responded. So thank you for that. The next issue that I want to bring up is when Addie said in her acceptance speech, they look forward to engaging all stakeholders, yada, yada, yada. And Yolanda represented the same. And then Freedom got on here and talked about the importance of that. Well, let's talk about the importance that is May 17th. We do not know still who the finalists are or were, or who's in the running. Now, Mr. Yano didn't announce his acceptance of the job in Vineland until he was board approved down there. By you all not announcing who the person is or when they will be appointed is preventing them from putting in their resignation unless you plan on hiring an unemployed person sitting on the couch. So if you are sincere in engaging stakeholders, and that doesn't just mean union leadership, it means the parents and the community members, there is no way it is May 17th and Mr. Yano is slated to leave June 30th that we do not know who the finalists are. What happened to the transition period? Where is that going to come in when they sit down and have a conversation? Finally, I want to talk about all the anomalies that Mr. Yano mentioned when we come here to speak about what is not going right in this hybrid situation. Well, first of all, we told you that the numbers of the amount of kids that the district was reporting who begged for in-person learning was incorrect. At most, at best, I'll give you an example. Rivera School today had 71 children, and that's with everybody coming in. The staggered reopening is out. You opened the whole entire building for 71 students. That is telling right there that your parents and community don't trust what you say at these board meetings either. Number two, you all continuously talked about the social emotional learning of these students, and because you wrote a good plan on paper, but you didn't put any action behind some of it. I'm not going to say all of it, some of it. There are no substitutes. So you're using guidance counselors, climate and culture people, inclusion teachers to sub for teachers that are out. So social emotional learning and everything is thrown out the window because guidance counselors are covering classes. Climate and culture people are covering classes. You are also into a federal violation because you are not providing students with IEPs their services. There is no way, since we've been in this hybrid status, that one of my inclusion teachers has only been able to see his assigned students 1 day per week. In any other district, it would not be allowed. Any other parent who knew that their child were not receiving services would have already gone somewhere to file against you. Once again, I am asking the board members to ask the important questions, but ask them from the people that are on the front lines that are in the buildings. No disrespect to people downtown. They are far removed. We see what is happening all day, every day, inside of these buildings. You cannot sit there as board members and let that roll off your back. You are responsible. You were appointed, you took the job, now do it correctly. We look forward to hopefully you all naming somebody or calling stakeholders to the table in regards to this superintendent search thing, because time is not on our side. It should have been announced 2-3 months ago. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Duncan. At this point in time, I'm going to go back to Ms. Sandy Jimenez. Ms. Sandy Jimenez. Okay, not seeing her. Anybody else? Am I somehow missing her? I'm asking because we're going to close public participation at this time if we don't see her. Okay, so at this point, public participation is in fact closed. And we'll move on to board discussion and action on the business agenda. And so at this time, the floor is open for board discussion and action on the business agenda.
I just wanted to find out how was I didn't actually see the email, maybe it did come out from Yano. How was the holiday resolved with the Jewish holiday resolved? How do we get that resolved?
Okay. If I might, before Superintendent comes on, we did have a brief discussion about that earlier this afternoon. And we did ask Superintendent Yano to take a look at that and see if, well, I'll let him speak, to take a look at that and maybe take it back to the committee and see if there can be some adjustments made. So Superintendent Yano, I just wanted to say for the record that we did have that discussion.
Absolutely. Addie and I had that conversation. And exactly what President Lane just said, she asked me to go back and look at the overall calendar, if we can make an adjustment by one day, how it impacts the overall count. Every time you add a day, the calendar there's a lot of moving parts. So I would like to take another look at it after tonight to see how we can address those concerns. I sent that in an email to President Duncan and a group of teachers, I believe, who had requested that information. And we could, if we make an adjustment, we can have that on the agenda for next week to get approved, so we have the revised calendar.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you can consider is, as I looked at the calendar, Veterans Day and President's Day, I'm not sure if those are required days. Those are 2 days right there that you may be able to pick up as you go to committee. As a suggestion of days to begin to look at. It is somewhat challenging after that, because there are other Jewish holidays that are on the calendar for the year, not on our calendar, but on the Jewish calendar, on the Judaic calendar, that we wouldn't be able to accommodate where those days where where you're not required or where you're not to work, and so. Certainly Rosh Hashanah is or Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are some of those days. But those 2 days you can take a look at it and take back to committee. So thank you for considering a change to the calendar to accommodate that. I mean, there's other holidays too. There's Ramadan, which is a whole month. We can't accommodate a whole month, but certainly there's other religious holidays as well that probably should consider as we take it back to the committee to take a look at.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with a comment? So I just want to be clear that even if we approve the, as Superintendent Yano said, even if we approve that calendar tonight, it will be revisited and perhaps revised. So there is opportunity because we do meet next week in person. And at that particular time, we will have an opportunity to, once he takes it back to committee, because if a committee decided, then the committee needs to have input on revising. And so that will give him an opportunity to take it back to the committee if it needs to be revised, and then come back and revise it for the next meeting if that's the decision of the committee. So just want to kind of throw that in there.
And then also one other resolution, number 4. It's kind of, I know it is a standard resolution for us. Where we authorize the superintendent, the board president, and human resources to make decisions on contracts and human resources items over the summer. I would just like to say that it's not a matter of trust. It's really a matter of responsibility of our board, which may require a change in our board meeting calendar to meet in July to make sure that we have the responsibility to approve any new appointments or new hires for the upcoming year. Not to take lightly the fact that we're in transition with the new superintendent, and we need to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. I don't want to advocate that responsibility. I want to make sure that the board is responsible. This is a very important year with our reconfiguration. It's a very important year with all the new positions that we have coming on board. It's a very important transition year for the board. And I think it's important that we have a board meeting in July to vote and not advocate that responsibility. And again, it's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of board responsibility. And so I would think that we want to consider that. I'm not saying to table the resolution or pull the resolution, but I think that by next board meeting, we should have a conversation about this and find out it may require us to change our board meeting calendar to add a board meeting in July or sometime during that period so that we can approve as a board as a whole, approve new hires and approvals of appointments for the upcoming school year during that time. That typically is done at the board president, HR level and superintendent level. So I want us to consider that and require us to change that hopefully by next board meeting or a board meeting in June. It also may require us to change our resolution on our calendar, our board meeting calendar as well. And the other thing I wanted just to address is the school facilities fees. I think that's something we want to take up in policy committee with the fees that we're charging to nonprofits. You may want to tier those into different levels. I'm not suggesting we take it off the agenda, but we should take a look at those fees as we move forward to make those fees on a tiered scale so that nonprofits can have an opportunity and community organizations can have an opportunity to use our schools as community schools.
And if I could say this, Gerald, because that was a board policy. So if you guys would like to revise your board policy, then, you can let me know, but this is just rolled over from the prior year. You're right, it can be revised.
Yes, thank you. So those are thank you, Jane. Those are the comments that I have about the agenda. Again, nothing to pull or nothing to table, but just some things I think we should consider and begin to have a conversation about that are being approved tonight as we move forward as a board.
So can I just piggyback on what Gerald was saying? I guess during the course of a year, and I guess it depends on volume, right? But if there's a lot of activity during the midsummer, we could actually call a special meeting like we do all year long, right? Without changing the plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and base that decision on need, right? So that we can do both things, because I think you can. And I think you're right. When it gets bigger than a bread box, having sit in that seat with all of the, the moving parts, right? Having the board input is a good idea, right? Different eyes, things looking at it. So I think that was a very good idea. And then just follow up, didn't we looked at, not last year, a couple of years ago, about the fee structure of the utilizing the schools, right?
We discussed it, but we didn't take it to the table in policy committee, and that's something that we can certainly do immediately, starting the next couple of weeks, to really begin to take a look at that fee schedule. And I think a good idea would be to tier it, say 2 or 3, maybe 4 tiers, based on different criteria determining cost and so forth. So that's a longer conversation and discussion, but you're absolutely right. We did have a conversation about it, but we didn't bring it to committee. It was on the agenda for approval at our annual meeting. It rang a bell in my mind, a light went off in my mind, and I said, you know what, it's time to take a look at that so that we can have more communities, nonprofits, and organizations within our community really begin to utilize our schools as we should.
Yeah, totally agree. Cool.
Okay, looking around for additional comments. So if you have one, just say something. But I think we have inserted board meetings in previous July, so I would not see an issue in terms of if we need to insert one, to certainly insert one, because there are a lot of moving parts that, in fact, are moving in July, and this year probably even more so than in the past. So certainly, we will do whatever needs to be, done to get the full, get full involvement, so that board members are definitely in the midst of making the decisions that are necessary to get 21-22 started off the way that it is supposed to start off. So certainly that is certainly worthy of a more than worthy of a consideration. So thank you, Gerald, for that. Anyone else? Okay, if there is no other discussion.
One more thing. I'm sorry. What's one more thing? I'm only going to be about a minute. I think it's important to note that a lot of these items on the agenda are cost saving items. Like you see all the jointures, the transportation jointures that are on the agenda. You see all the cooperative pricing, which is joining into save money in cooperative pricing with different organizations that are on the agenda. I mean, the joint transportation alone is saving tons of money. So I think just so that the public understands, I know all the board members follow this, but it's important, I think, to make sure we comment on this from the business office standpoint, where Jane sits in that seat, is that this is clear. This is clearly really helping us to save money with these jointures and these cooperative purchasing contracts that are on the agenda tonight. I think I want to mention that in public comment at this time. So thanks a lot to Jane Howard and her efforts in her office for getting this done, but goes a long way in helping us save a tremendous amount of money over the year by approving these annual resolutions that we do every year.
Okay, thank you. And certainly thank you for pointing that out for us and for the public, Mr. Trueheart. So thank you. Okay, all right. At this particular time, and I know that Teron was having difficulty connecting. I see that she is actually back on, so that is a good thing. We need board discussion and action on the business agenda, and so we have discussed it. If there's no further discussion, then we will ask for a motion to approve the agendas. And as per our discussion, there are certain items that we may want to take a look at between now and the next time the board actually reconvenes. All right, and so we'll do that. And then we have a couple of items to add to the agenda. Public participation comments from the last, we've had a number of board meetings, and I think we have a series of charts of public concerns. And I believe that we can address two of those tonight. And so after we vote on the motion, there are some public participation concerns to be addressed. All right, so at this point in time, then I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call, Jean Bowie,
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez,
Yes.
Teron McKnight,
Yes.
Gerald Trueheart,
Yes.
Jeannie Weeklam,
Yes.
Sade Williams absent, Addie Daniels Lane.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, all right, and Teron, I see that you got back on. Are you prepared to give us a brief superintendent search update before I start the public participation concerns? I'm trying to pull them up on my computer.
Yes. Sorry, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties, but I can join you about audio to give the update on the superintendent search. So I know that we have been working diligently over the past couple of months to find our next district leader. And I'm very happy to report that we are in the final stages of our superintendent search, and we will make an announcement as to who our chosen candidate will be. Of course, you know, until it's finalized by the county superintendent, it isn't formal per se, but we will be making an informal announcement as to who the board chose as being our next district leader. So I'm very happy about that. I thank all the board members for your hard work that we have put in this process over the next few months, and excited to move forward. That is it, Madam President.
Okay, thank you, Teron. Okay, so that was that particular update. And now for for board concerns, and these concerns are from April the 26th. And this particular issue was brought forth that said that students have the following concerns: social distancing measures, mask enforcement, mandatory vaccinations and testing for staff and students, communication of a safety plan effect on students with asthma. And Mr. Fort felt that students' social emotional needs are not being met. And the resolution or update, there was speculation provided that contradicts all research prior to students arriving to school. What was witnessed the week of May 3rd was that the Trenton Public School students who attended that first week were exuberant and joyful to be returning to school. They were smiling and excited to see their peers and teachers in person. Engagement levels in classrooms were high. At the high school, there's a committee that includes the 5 school counselors that provide individual and group counseling. They collaborate with school-based youth services workers to provide support to students and families. K-8 counselors are doing counselor morning check-ins, and they use components of the second step curriculum to address specific issues and concerns that students may be exhibiting. They also provide individual and group guidance activities. Several of our schools have full-time social workers and behavior specialists whose responsibility it is to support the well-being of students. Also, teachers play a critical role in referring students to the school counselors when they notice that students are not coming to class or disengaged and exhibiting attention-seeking behaviors that may be red flags. That was one concern. A next concern was about the statistics on COVID cases in Trenton and the regular testing of staff and students, the number of new cases and the infection rates, vaccination percentage of the Trenton population, and the rate of the rate of transmission in Trenton, and accurate contact tracing in the district. A lot of those concerns have been addressed via email with the health director. And of course, we'll get additional information that changes daily in terms of the vaccination rates and the numbers of infections in a particular, or in this particular town. So again, that information is continually being updated, and we can ask that the health director provide that on a weekly basis. Another concern, the effect of COVID on Black and Brown people, loss of pay for teachers who do not report for work in person. Superintendent Yano sent an email to all district staff on April 18th, directing that all instructional staff return to their in-person location on April 22nd. Due to the failure to follow a directive from the acting superintendent, they received a letter of reprimand citing unprofessional conduct, insubordination, and a violation of district policy, the attendance policy. And due to their continued failure to follow the acting superintendent's directive and their violation of the policy, it was recommended that their paychecks be docked for the days that they did not adhere to the directive. Of course, yes. All right. And another concern, challenges with visual acuity from behind plexiglass barriers. It was noted that the plexiglass barriers are clear and should not cause major visual acuity issues. Another concern, the PD on hybrid instruction was ineffective. Proposed classroom cleaning procedures are not adequate, and teachers are being treated unfairly and bullied. On the front line, evaluations of the workshops, the majority of the teachers rated the PD a 3 to 5 on the following questions. The virtual environment was conducive to professional learning. Was technology functional? Was login smooth? Did the facilitator manage the virtual environment well, like chats? The leader was prepared and organized. Did the facilitator start and end on time? Was the material presented in an easy to follow manner? Did the facilitator use quality visuals? The leader was prepared and organized. Did the facilitator start and end on time? Was the material presented in an easy to follow manner? The content of the PD was useful. Did the PD meet my professional learning needs? Was I provided with strategies to improve my practice? And again, all of the workshops, the PD sessions were rated in my learning plan. And again, they received a rating of 3 to 5. Additionally, all facilities, the statement is that all facilities will be cleaned and sanitized throughout the day. We're available without minimal disruption to learning and thoroughly during the off hours daily. Another concern, administration is shaming teachers who do not want to return to the classroom due to safety concerns and retaliation through having a position or her particular position eliminated. There were 68 positions abolished for the 21-22 school year. The district would never eliminate a position due to retaliation against an employee. Positions are abolished according to the operational efficiency of a department. That was the response. Then there was another concern, no just cause for letters sent to teachers and too many administrative positions being recommended. Response, the letters were according to policy. The judge determined that the teachers engaged in a work stoppage and the letters were an appropriate form of progressive discipline for the individuals who refused to follow the superintendent's directive. All teachers who met their contractual obligations and followed the director of the acting superintendent did not receive a letter. The district adheres to the administrative cap with all the administrative positions. Okay, those were the concerns from April the 26th. Let me see if I can pull up the concerns from, I'm sorry. The concerns from from May the 4th. All right, these are the concerns from May the 4th. The docking of teachers' pay. Classrooms are not safe for return to in-person instruction. The response, the acting superintendent, Mr. Yano, sent an email to all district staff on April 18th, directing that the instructional staff return to their in-person location on April 22nd. Due to their failure to follow a directive from the acting superintendent, they received a letter of reprimand as stated before as violation of the attendance policy 3212. And those, again, it was recommended that their paycheck would be docked for the days that they did not adhere to the directive. Trenton Public School classrooms meet all the safety guidelines per CDC and NJDOE. Inspection of our classrooms were made by the NJDOE and the DOH, Department of Health, I'm assuming. They not only deemed our classrooms safe, but noted that the Trenton Public Schools went above and beyond the guidelines. The judge stated the same in court. Next concern, PD on hybrid instruction was ineffective. Some parents did not fill out the COVID survey. Protocols are not being followed consistently, and synchronous learning is not working. Those were the concerns. And again, as noted before, in the front line from, I believe it's my learning plan evaluations, the majority of the teachers rated the PD as 3 to 5, and having addressed all of those concerns that I read previously. In addition, standard schools have developed a protocol for students arriving without a completed health survey. Protocols may vary slightly from building to building due to the structural design. Parents were provided with their children's login information via email and postal address. In addition, hybrid students were provided a hard copy of their login credentials on their first day of hybrid instruction. As a result of various campaign efforts, parental participation in completing the health survey increases daily. Third concern, standard operating procedures were created and aligned with the CDC guidelines. As these guidelines are fluid and change with the science, procedures may be adjusted. Any changes to an existing SOP will remain aligned with the current CDC specifications. In addition, a revised version of the Ready to Launch will be placed on the district webpage. Fourth concern, the district directors and supervisors conducted walkthroughs from May the 3rd through May the 7th, 90% and visited over 500 classrooms. 96% of classrooms visited were highly engaging with students at home, and the students in class excited and participating in the discussion and activities. Next concern, docking of teachers' pay, and parents of her students did not receive a letter regarding their reporting schedule. Again, Acting Superintendent Yano sent out an email to all district staff on April 18th, directing the instructional staff to return to their in-person location on April the 22nd. Due to the failure of some to follow that directive, they were issued a letter of reprimand, and then in violation that noted they were in violation of policy 3212, the attendance policy, and that they would be docked for the days that they did not adhere to the directive. Parents' addresses, and this is in response to the second concern, parents' addresses were generated from PowerSchool and letters were mailed to every parent. If a parent did not receive a letter, they are encouraged to contact their child's teacher and or school secretary to ensure their address on file is correct and up to date. Next concern, mold at Grant School. Awaiting report on mold remediation and asbestos cleanup. HEPA air filter is not working. Training is needed in proper use of the temperature checking. Classroom surfaces are not clean. The responses, 1, all mold remediation efforts have been professionally addressed. There is no mold at Grant School. 2nd, air monitoring, testing, and indoor air quality test reports were all approved for full occupancy. The air purification unit was tested and the machine was working at a lower level. The machine was replaced. Number 4, fourth concern, outside security staff was shown how to utilize each of the various types of units for temperature checks. Number 5, all facilities are being cleaned and sanitized throughout the day and thoroughly during the off hours daily. Next concern, again, docking of teachers' pay and conflicting information being shared from administration. 1, again, the acting superintendent, Mr. Yano, sent an email to all district staff directing that they return to their location in person on April 22nd. Due to the failure to report and follow the directive, a letter of reprimand was issued. And again, a violation of the attendance policy 3212. And it was recommended that their paychecks would be docked if they did not adhere to the directive. Next concerns, not enough students to justify in-person learning. Temperature scanner not working. Teachers have not been paid for summer school and PD from August. Custodians are owed retro checks, mold and musty air in the buildings, not enough substitutes to cover for quarantining staff members. First response, only approximately 1 out of 3 parents of Trenton Public School students chose to stay remote for the remainder of the year. Even if only a handful of parents chose in-person learning, the employees of Trenton Public Schools receive salaries to serve the students and parents of Trenton Public Schools. If only a handful of parents and students wanted in-person learning, we as employees of Trenton Public Schools owe it to these parents and students to provide that particular option. In response to the second concern, that unit was tested and proper operation of the unit was witnessed and verified by the principal, security, and staff. Third response, there are no outstanding timesheets in the payroll department. All custodians were paid their retro checks. Number 5, no indication of mold or musk has been identified in any administrative, teaching, and or corridors or areas. Please identify any specific location that was being referred to with this particular issue. As of 5/12, let's see, ESS and Trenton administrators have recruited close to 40 new building-based substitutes. We also have 5 long-term positions filled. The district is continually recruiting new substitutes through the end of the school year. Next concern, the vaccination percentage of the Trenton population is 32%. Maintenance workers in the buildings during instructional time is a health and safety issue. And third concern, the HVAC study on the website is misleading. In response, the campaign to vaccinate as many citizens as possible is ongoing. The vaccine is currently offered to anyone over the age of 16, and we now know that that's under the age of 12. The district webpage contains a list of vaccine clinics. The vaccine is being offered on the following dates: May 10th, 12th, 15th, 17th, 22nd, 24th, 29th, and 31st, June 2nd and 5th. Vaccine brands, times, and locations vary. Please visit the Trenton Public Schools webpage for more information. And the next concern, all district maintenance personnel have been fully vaccinated. Moreover, continued practice of all health and safety procedures remains a priority for themselves, staff, and students. Number 3, the HVAC study report was performed and developed by licensed and certified engineering and environmental firms and will not be removed from the webpage. Next concern, teachers are being disrespected and the docking of teachers' pay. Again, in reference to the docking of pay, Acting Superintendent Yano sent an email to all district staff on April 18th directing that they return to in-person learning as of April 22nd. Due to the failure to follow that directive, a letter of reprimand was received, and then unprofessional conduct, insubordination, and a violation of the district's attendance policy 3212. Due to their continued failure to follow the acting superintendent's directive and their violation of the policy, it was recommended that their paycheck would be docked for the days that they did not adhere to the directive. All right, and so moving right along, next concern, no board leadership skills, alternative facts being shared by leadership on in-person learning and the COVID survey. Number 3, inconsistencies between the reopening plan sent to the DOE and the one submitted to the injunction judge. Too many administrative positions being recommended. Legal costs are too high. Conduct of the superintendent search was not proper. Number 2 and 3, this situation is fluid and the information changes often, and that is in reference to COVID questions. The leadership team works hard to provide the community with accurate and updated information in a timely fashion. Next concern, next response. The district adheres to the administrative cap with regards to all administrative positions. Next response, districts with legal costs that exceed 130% of the statewide average per pupil amount should establish the following procedures: a limitation on the number of contact persons with authority to request services or advice, criteria or guidance to prevent the use of legal counsel unnecessarily for management decisions. Requests should be made in writing and maintain a log. The district has established procedures to ensure that the prudent use of legal services by employees and the Board of Education members does not exceed 130%. The superintendent search was conducted by the New Jersey School Boards Association and through our consultant with the New Jersey School Boards, in consultation with the New Jersey School Boards Association. Our consultant for that particular search was Mr. Jesse Adams, which many of you met through the town halls and through the surveys that were sent out. And so there was nothing improper about this particular search. Moving on to the next one, the next concern, board meetings should be in person. TEA's concerns regarding health and safety were misrepresented in court. Docking of teachers' pay, teachers not paid for work performed in August. The board meeting will be in person beginning May 24th, which is next Monday. The administration has been working with Tessa, and this is the second concern, to address all health and safety concerns. Next response, acting superintendent, again, about the docking of pay. Acting Superintendent Yano sent an email to all district staff on April 18th, directing that all staff report in person to their workstations on April the 22nd. Due to the failure of many to report, there was a letter of reprimand that was followed by a violation of the policy 3212 attendance policy, and recommended that paychecks be docked for the days that they were not adhered to in terms of the superintendent's directive. All timesheets presented to payroll office were processed. There are no outstanding timesheets not paid in payroll. And hold on, my computer just jumped on me. Okay, please provide specific names and when they were provided to the payroll office. If you have specific names from last summer or last August of persons who have not been paid, please present those to the payroll office. Next concern, advocating for new school buildings. School system needs to fight injustices in the city. Docking of teachers' pay. Children learn disrespect from adults. Next superintendent needs to put Trenton first. So again, in terms of advocating for new school buildings, we know that that is the responsibility of the whole district in terms of advocating, and we know right now that we will push for that. However, the SDA currently, I believe, is out of funding, but certainly we can advocate for the additional funding and certainly advocate that they make those funds available. School system needs to fight injustices in the city. And so certainly that is something that we all as community members have to be concerned about, those things that carry on in the city, because they impact our students, their families, and by impacting their families, that also impacts them. Docking of teachers' pay, again, the same comment from before. The acting superintendent directed staff to return on April 22nd to in-person learning. Many did not, so therefore they received a letter of reprimand and stating that they violated the attendance policy 3212, that there was unprofessional conduct and insubordination, and it was recommended that since folks continue to not follow the recommendations or the directive of the superintendent, that their paycheck would be docked for the days that they did not adhere to that directive. Let's see. Okay, and so another concern, there should be no time limit on public participation. More conversation of the issues needs to happen in public between the board and the leadership. The budget needs to be audited, and board members should walk through the schools to see concerns that were voiced. Number one, in terms of a response, our policy says that there has to be a limit on public participation. These are business meetings, and therefore to make sure that we're able to address all of the business of the board in a timely fashion, there are time limits set up on most of the items on the agenda, and that is by policy, and that policy has been revised over time. But again, that is by policy because we have to conduct business. More conversation on the issues needs to happen in public between the board and leadership. There are conversations take place. Many of those conversations take place in committee. We cannot wait till the night of the board meeting to actually discuss issues. If we have questions that need to be answered, those questions need to be answered before we actually sit and make a decision on the night of. And so a lot of the discussion on many of the issues, we ask our questions, we get them answered, we discuss again in our committee meetings. Sometimes there are additional questions that arise, and we do ask those questions during board meetings. But again, our objective is to make sure that we are on target in terms of conducting business in our committee meetings as they were designed to do. And again, that is by policy. The budget needs to be audited. That's the third concern. And in response, the executive county superintendent, as designated by the commissioner, shall review and approve each district's Board of Education proposed budget. The base budget and supporting documentation submitted by the district's Board of Education includes measures to ensure that a curriculum and instruction are designed and delivered in a way that all students will have the opportunity to achieve the knowledge and skills defined by the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. The budget is also audited internally, monthly, and externally yearly to ensure that funding was spent according to the budget and the district maintains the fiscal health of the district, and ensure that all legal mandates relating to the financial transactions of the district or adhere to. And I believe there was a link placed to the audit on the district webpage, so that if you care to review the audit, you can actually follow the link. And I believe the audit has 100+ pages, so that, again, it is there for your review. All right, and next concern. Program manager for bilingual department was created without a job description. Fund the 11 additional, there was a request to fund the 11 additional school secretarial positions created for the 2021 school year, and more secretaries are needed for the 21-22 school year. Number one, job descriptions will be approved prior to posting or hiring. Number two, there was no recommendations to bring in additional secretarial staff for 21 and 22. And again, for the 2021 school year, there was a recommendation. However, when the funding was cut that was supposed to be designed to support that position, those positions actually did not go into effect for the 2021 school year because the funds were cut by the state. So those are those concerns. Next concern, and I think this is the last one, the names of superintendent finalists have not been communicated. And again, the docking of teachers' pay. As per the superintendent search update tonight, it was noted that the search process has reached its final phase, and that documents are being agreed on, and that by next Monday, we will be announcing the successful candidate as per our chairperson's announcement earlier in this particular meeting. All right, and so docking of teachers' pay, again, the superintendent sent an email to all district staff on April 18th, directing that all instructional staff return to their in-person location on April 22nd due to the failure to follow the directive from the acting superintendent. A letter of reprimand was received citing unprofessional conduct and a violation of the policy 3212. And due to the continued failure to follow the acting superintendent's directive and their violation of policy 3212, it was recommended that their paycheck would be docked for the days that they did not adhere to the directive. All right, and so those were the concerns again from April, and also from the meeting from 5/4. So the additional concerns that were brought up at the meeting from 5/12 and tonight's meeting will be addressed at the meeting that will take place next week, which again will be in person at the board. And I'm assuming, and Ms. Howard, I'm just going to ask you right now for the record, in terms of, have we determined in terms of the board capacity or what rules or whatnot will be in effect for that particular board meeting? Have we gotten to that point?
No, we haven't gotten to that point, but we will have an in-person board meeting. I will have Dwayne and Dennis send something in writing to the board and public with the rules and procedures for the meeting on the 24th, but it will be in person.
Okay. Okay. All right. So noted. And again, whatever specific rules and whatnot that will be in place will be shared with all, will be posted and shared with members of the public as well as members of the board. Okay. So I think I covered all of the concerns that that we have to date for this particular board meeting. Are there any other comments or any other business that we did not actually discuss? I think we got it all in. Okay, seeing none, at this point, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. A roll call, Jean Bowie,
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez,
Yes.
Teron McKnight,
Yes.
Gerald Trueheart,
Yes.
Jeannie Weekland,
Yes.
Sade Williams absent, Addie Daniels-Layton.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and
Good
thank you
night,
to the
everyone.
public that joined